And welcome back to another and final episode of Season 1 of The State of Things. As always, I am Jacob Ludwig, your now former student body president. And with me, as always again, is Jaden Ahlrichs, your former student body vice president. Jaden, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. You know, it's kind of a sad day here in the studio for both of us, if I can speak for you. But a day of reflection, really, because as you said, this is our very last episode. We've been here since the very beginning, since episode 1 with Dr. Toya Younger. And so for today's intro, we really just wanted to reflect on the past year and the past 11 episodes that we have recorded in the Student Innovation Center and have aired on the multiple platforms to, the hopefully thousands of people that listen to this podcast. So I suppose, Jacob, how are you?
I'm doing good. This, it obviously is bittersweet. We've had a lot of fun here on The State of Things, recording these episodes, talking with the really cool people that have come in to interview for this podcast. There's just been so many different memories of great conversations. Unbeknownst to our viewers, there are literal hours of blooper reels that, maybe if we put some work in, that might be released someday in the far-flung future. But yeah, no, there's just so much fun that we've had here, so many great conversations that we've had, and this was something we kind of pursued on a whim a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we came in here in the open house in the fall, and we said, hey, what's this? And we wandered in here, and we sat in the podcast studio, and I think we sat in here for like 30 or 40 minutes.
Oh, we were in here for a while. We really liked how our voice sounded through the headphone system they've got.
Yeah, we got a little
self-inflated there.
Yeah,
but
self-inflated. I mean, we're like, what if we made this a regular part of our time here for the rest of the year? And so I called Christian Grindsteiner, who is our senior director of communications in student government, and I said, hey, I got an idea that I want to pitch you on, and I think you're gonna say no, so just let me talk for a little bit, and then find a way to say yes, please. And I was like, so we were just in the Student Innovation Center, and we were in the podcast studio, and then I just heard him say, "Oh no," and I was like, he knows right where I'm going. So I started talking. I'm like, it's such a great experience. This is how we do it, because we had already kind of looked into how we would come in and record. You and I sent emails later that night to set up the training session, and I think we were in here a couple days later doing our little training, and then we kind of twisted Christian's arm a little bit and started talking around, and so eventually we got Christian gave us a thumbs up. We got Maddie on board. We found Sundar, who has been invaluable for our operation, and then later in the year, of course, we got Ethan, and then here in this last month or so, we got Anna involved as well to be a part of our production team. And so it's been a journey for sure. We did not really know what we were doing or what we had gotten into when we first started, but it has been, like you said earlier, it's been a ride, and it's been so much fun. We've learned so much about how to communicate in this medium and use this space and use it efficiently. We had some growing pains at points. Do you actually want to talk about some of the various challenges that we encountered and some that we created throughout the year?
I think one of the biggest ones, just one of the kind of barriers that we kept running into, was a self-imposed barrier of we just weren't reaching out to our guests too far in advance. I mean, we were reaching out like a week and a half in advance, but that just wasn't enough because of the caliber of these people that we were trying to bring in. And so we learned very quickly that a minimum of 3 to 4 weeks was necessary and able to schedule for, this 2 hours that we're down here in the digital media suite. And so that was a growing pain, learning that one.
But I think the really cool part of that is that in basically every single one of those instances, the people we were reaching out to were super excited.
Oh, no, for sure. I don't think I'm not even thinking, we weren't told no. Like, everyone was like, tell me when, tell me where.
Yep.
And they were here.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a really cool moment. And I think everyone that we eventually did bring down here, we were also exposing them to the world of podcasts, because I'm pretty sure darn near everyone that we brought in was like, maybe my department needs a podcast now. And so I just think that's hilarious that, this space is set up for students and faculty alike, but students, we are introducing faculty into a new medium that's hip and trendy that people listen to. And so, we're also inspiring innovation into these faculty and administrators that we bring down there, which has been a really cool and unexpected part to this journey.
Yeah. So to our listeners out there, if you see next year just a flurry of new Iowa State departmental podcasts,
You're welcome.
yeah, that was us. We inspired this university to innovate. And so we'll definitely be stealing credit for that, I think. So when Dr. Younger eventually starts her own podcast, you'll know where she got the idea from.
And I think another big thing that we've really grown through is we didn't have an idea of where this was going to go. We are now on Spotify, YouTube, Google, and Apple Podcasts. We're on the radio, KURE, here on campus on Mondays from 5 to 6. The Daily Dose promotes us. We didn't expect for any of this to happen. We just had this idea, and we came down here. And I mean, other developments that we've had, because we work a lot on the audio side of things. We're obviously in the podcast room, but you also have to think that we're a video production as well. And so, if you watch season 1 through season 12, or episode 1 through episode 12 now of The State of Things, just the video and visual effects of the episode, we pursued getting our own unique music that was made and recorded by students themselves here. And so that was all original music work there. And then we've just got the credits and everything. There's just so many things. I was like, what if we did this? And we pursued it, and it was a great turnout for the podcast.
Yeah, I think, we pursued all these cool little ideas. I mean, you can just, I think I want to give special shout out to Ethan Matthews for coming on. He definitely helped us with a lot of the lighting in the studio.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Makes us, again, look so much better than we actually look. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can thank Ethan Matthews for making us look good. Making the visual aspect of this medium work. But yeah, I mean, there's really cool things like that, and I think it's just been a joy. I think these are some of our favorite moments from the year. The production team, I think, despite maybe every now and then wanting to beat us over the head because we don't quite run quick enough with the segments, or we keep biffing. I know that I think it was the well, you weren't here for it. It was when we were doing the Cyride.
Of course, you have to bring up an example from that episode.
Well, I'm so used to you closing out things because I don't know what it is. Like, my brain can't, like, I ad-lib a lot, but for whatever reason, ad-libbing the closing just doesn't work for me. So you usually close us out. I think it's just because, like, we always kind of end up with you doing the last question, and so you kind of close us out. I had to do the take on closing that interview like 6 times because I don't know. I'd be thanking Chris for coming on, and then she would say, "Oh, no problem. I really had a lot of fun," and then I would go to finish it, and I don't know why, but I would just blank. And so I also wanted to give you a shout out because I have definitely used you as a crutch a number of times this year. Because I think when we're doing this, we're just talking to each other, it's pretty easy.
Oh, it's so laid back.
Yeah, but when it's kind of an interview, everything can feel a little stilted at points, at least for us, and I hope it didn't feel that way for the viewers, although I have no doubt that at points it might have. But yeah, it's a very different kind of feel, a different way that the conversation kind of runs, because obviously you have a number of boxes, or we have a number of boxes that we want to tick off. We want to touch all these different topic areas, and we want to make sure that it feels natural, and so kind of learning to do that has been interesting. Not that we've done any hard-nosed journalism on this podcast. In fact, I think one of the things we tell our guests is that, hey, we're not trying to come at you about anything.
No.
We just want to have a fun, casual conversation about what you do and the big things happening on campus.
And so I really want to extend open arms to any of our listeners. Jacob and I have spent the last countless weeks in here learning how to be, good podcasters and how to be able to talk, especially with special guests. And so feel free to reach out to our email, stateofthings@iastate.edu. if you have an idea or an inspiration to start your own podcast, I mean, this studio that we work in is free and open to all students. There's 2 full-time staffers that work here that are going to be here to help you on the editing or recording and the setup. And so if any of you have aspirations to be podcasters as great as Jacob and I, feel free to reach out to our email and we would love to help you start that process. But
Yeah.
the state of things is really our baby, and we are here to hand it off, aren't we?
Yep. And so this is Jaden and I's final episode, and so today we'll be introducing the next host,
Yeah.
co-host of the State of Things. So we've got with us today Jennifer Holliday and Emily Roberts, the next president and vice president of the student body.
More importantly, the next co-host of the state.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's the thing that they really ran for. But quick, before we transition out to interviews with them, where Jaden is going to interview Jennifer and then I will interview Emily, I just wanted Jaden and I to both share a favorite memory from this year. So, Jaden, what's a favorite memory from the recording studio?
So, for those of you that don't know, like the ins and outs of how we do the recordings, we are always in here bi-weekly on Thursdays from 6 to, well, we say 8, but 6 to whenever we leave. And so I just think some of my favorite moments have been the late night kind of impromptu things, because we try to do the intro, the outro, the interview, and the producer bit all in one go, but that normally doesn't happen. But I think some of my just favorite things is just the conversations down here in the basement of the Student Innovation Center at 7:30 at night, just ad-libbing on the mic. It's a lot of fun. And I've got to say, the original reason that we got hooked on podcasts is it's really cool hearing your voice through the microphone and the headphones. And so, I mean, I'll never get enough of that time. I'll probably have to figure out how much one of these setups is on Amazon once I graduate. But I just think those, the late night grind hours, just sitting down here at the microphone and just chatting, either, be it with you or our special guest of the episode. I don't think I'll ever forget those times. But Jacob, what's been your favorite part?
I think it's a little bit that, for sure. Especially the conversations with the guests, honestly, outside the interviews have been really cool. There's a lot of really cool conversations that we've had with them, just about what's going on in their day, prepping for this, things that didn't make it into the episodes, where you kind of realize that these are just people. I think people see President Winterstein and they have a kind of caricature in their mind, and they see Chief Newton and they have certain thoughts about him and police, and they see, Brian Vanderhayden, and they might think, okay, like Brian Vanderhayden works in student wellness, so I have these thoughts about that, right? And so they kind of have these visions of who they are, but they're just people. We talked. President Winterstein was talking about the fact that she'd been running around all day, and she had all these meetings, and she was so busy the day that she came in, and she was kind of lost in the Student Innovation Center looking for us. We talked with Chief Noon about some big things that had been going on around the time then, and he just I feel like we had these kind of really cool personal connections with them, where they kind of shared just a little bit of what's going on just in their personal lives, not Iowa State, and we got to have those conversations. And then obviously, I mean, if I had to pick a singular moment,
Here we go.
just one, I mean, when the State of Things peaked, and I don't want to say it's been downhill since then. It just maybe we plateaued. It just was.
It was when we got in the swing of things.
Yeah,
finally.
yeah, and I think it was when President Winterstein called you out for not being able to cook rice. I think
that was a peak.
Yeah, I think having President Winterstein on was a joy, but I think President Winterstein choosing to take a shot at you for not knowing how to cook rice, I think I think that's when I was like, all right, I think we're really hitting our stride. I think we've reached this kind of cordial and jovial atmosphere with our guests, and I think that's when I kind of started to really feel comfortable in the studio. And it's gonna be so weird to not do this anymore. I feel like we've talked at other points about how weird it's gonna be to not be student body president, vice president. We're already kind of experiencing that, just the kind of whiplash in terms of our schedule and kind of our identities and what we do. But it is so this has been such a big part of this year, coming into the studio, recording, having these really cool conversations, and trying to share different bits of the university with the broader student body and the Iowa State community. And I'm so excited and so happy that we did this. This has been so much fun. And it's a little sad that we have to let it go. But I'm really excited that Emily and Jennifer seems really pumped to take it on and make it their own next year. Obviously, you know,
we set the bar, but they can go wherever they see fit.
and here's the thing, Jaden, you know I love you, and and I think we're a great team. By no means do I think we were naturals at this.
No. And so, you can have your own thoughts about how Jacob and I handle ourselves on the podcast, but we had zero experience before episode 1 of this. And so, your own thoughts are your own thoughts, but we've seen tons of growth and maturity in ourselves on a podcast like this.
So I have full faith that Emily and Jennifer will take the podcast to new heights next year, and I'm wishing them the best as they take over.
Yes.
But with that, we've got some transition interviews to do, and so we will move first to a conversation between Jaden and Jennifer about being vice president, and of course being a co-host of The State of Things. Then a conversation between me and Emily about being president and, again, being a co-host. And then we will close out the episode.
They will close out the episode.
Emily and Jennifer will close out the episode. So, we'll hear some more from us later in this podcast. But one final time from Jaden and I, thanks for following along with us both this year. And it's been great discussing.
Yes. It's been great stating the things.
Yeah. It's been great discussing everything that's been going on this campus and sharing on the state of things.
Yeah. So right after this, catch my interview with Jennifer Holliday. All right, and with us now is the now 73rd Vice President of the student body here at Iowa State University, and a sophomore in 3 majors, so I have to remember them all: journalism and mass communications, international agriculture, and ag studies. Your very own Jennifer Holliday. Jennifer, how are you doing this evening?
I am doing great. We have made it through the first session in student government on the tail end of the semester, so we are just coasting through till summer, and then we get to dive into all of our remote work for student government and internships.
Okay. So I'm curious to know, this first session of student government is only the last 2 to 3 weeks of the spring semester, and you were just inaugurated 2 weeks, so you're still very fresh in the position. But I'm really curious to know, what have you and Emily been up to?
Yeah, so we have just barely dipped our toes into the water. 2 weeks inaugurated, very fresh off the boat. So 2 Senate meetings have been checked off of our list. Lots of new senators have been confirmed in. We are on the roll of getting our cabinet members nominated and put into office. And we are kind of just preparing for what we can do remotely over summer. With the Senate meetings checked off, now it's just focusing on kind of working as a team and what people can do depending on their location. Because Emily is going to be in North Dakota most of the summer.
Okay.
I'll still be in Iowa. So I guess I will get to be coming back to Ames every once in a while. I'll probably get to see Sophie. I'm sure Sophie would love that. And just kind of make sure that things are rocking and rolling. So when we come back to Ames in August, we can just get off with a running start.
So it sounds like you've been doing a lot of groundwork to set you and Emily and the entire administration up for hitting the ground running in the fall semester. But you talked a lot about preparing for virtual work during the summer. And typically in student government, the summer's kind of a lull of, Emily's going to be in North Dakota, you'll still be here. I was in France, Jacob was in D.C., for our example. And so the summer, not a ton gets accomplished, but it sounds like you guys are a little ambitious to, really get some work done during the summer. So what are you guys going to do during those months?
Oh, absolutely. So Emily and I's platform was basically a list of 12 checkoff points. So you will know if we were able to do our job well or not, kind of. So over the summer, we want to get the game plan for as many of those points as we can, and possibly even get some rocking and rolling. So we have the AIM Safe Word program, for example. If we can get that started before students come back in the fall, then we will have one thing already checked off and implemented during our term. So students have one thing better to look forward to when they come back here in Ames.
Okay, dang. So that sounds like a very fun project to get rolling.
Mhm.
And I want to backtrack. You mentioned 12 points, but I know if students didn't hear or see you and Emily out and about in your pink suits during the campaign season, your campaign logo was for each student, but each was an acronym. Do you want to
Yes.
describe what that was?
Yes, so each stood for empowerment, academics, community, and health. Because we believe Iowa State University is a place for each student and for all Cyclones. So those 4 main points had 3 sub-points underneath each of them, in which we wanted to kind of tackle as improvements upon what is already here at Iowa State.
So you have 4 big categories, 12 different points. Which one do you think you are personally most excited about?
I can already answer that. Hands down, it is our accessibility map.
Okay.
I am so excited to get started on that. I truly love it. So, the accessibility map has the goal of developing a program that is available for all students virtually so they can have it with them wherever they go in an easy manner. So, for example, hopefully we could incorporate it to the My State app or another app that is common for Iowa Staters to have. And on it, it would have locations such as handicap parking, what type of door handles are on doors in whatever building that students may be going to for class or whatnot, as well as elevators, escalators. I don't know if we really have escalators on campus.
I wish.
Stair steps, and just anything of that sort that students may need, or whether it's a permanent need or just temporary as well.
So why do you think the Iowa State campus needs an accessibility map like that?
Yeah, so a lot of students have these typically unseen needs that a lot of us don't think of. But by being able to kind of recognize this as something that is important to their life, it will make their experience here at Iowa State so much more positive. We all have different things that we need to be able to succeed and have a positive life and impact here on campus. So by having the resources that we all need, we can make it a better time for ourselves and our peers too. So by creating this, hopefully we can help those students that may have these accessibility needs have that positive experience without the hassle of reaching out to more faculty than they may need to and waiting on those untimely responses.
And I think one of the benefits that hit my brain right away was kind of what I'm going to say is like route planning. Whereas if I'm a student with an accessibility need and I need certain accommodations, before even going to class on the first day, I can make an accessible route, via this map, so then I can confidently go to class that very first day in the fall and then continue that exact same route because I know that I'll be able to use the doors, the stairs, etc., like you mentioned. And so I think it's a great confidence building resource for students as well.
Oh, absolutely. Because I can only imagine how many students may find that helpful. Because on My State, it has the map already of every building on campus and their really almost exact locations. And so I know that summer before my freshman year, I wasn't able to come to campus until 1 a.m. the morning that classes were starting.
That's a story for later, I suppose.
That is a story for later. Iowa State Fair things, But I was so nervous being a freshman, and even though I grew up in Iowa and have visited the campus many times, that doesn't mean I paid attention to what buildings were where. So I was able to look up where all of my classes were and figure out that map for myself. So having this map available for students can definitely accomplish that as well, like you mentioned.
And I think even zooming out kind of on the bigger concept of the accessibility map is a common theme that other programs have been doing, like our mental health website, is we are taking all these resources for students, and in your case, accessibility resources, and kind of creating this conglomerate map in your case, or the mental health, it's a conglomerate website of all these resources. Because there's the signs everywhere on campus that tell you about things. There's the My State app, which currently has the map feature, which has like some of those aspects, but obviously not as in depth as you want. And so I think it also contributes to kind of this larger idea of creating one-stop shop resource bases for students, which I think is amazing.
Absolutely. I completely agree. We have all these resources, but in so many different areas that as soon as you find one, you are off to the next website or physical location to find your next resource you need. And that's just timely and inconvenient. So hopefully this can help that out some more.
So you want to work on this accessibility map during the summer, but your first time here in the podcast room, I can hear you're
Yeah.
kind of a natural talking. We did no preparation before this, and so what is your internship this summer?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I actually got to start my internship back in December, part-time throughout this spring semester. We are not in fall semester anymore. And then I will go full-time during the summer. I'm working for a national podcast company, actually. It's called Global Ag Network. So it's an ag-based podcasting company. And right now during the school year, I'm specifically working for just one podcast. It's my boss who owns the company specifically.
Okay.
It's Ag News Daily. Just a little shout out if you ever want to hear me on there. But it's a daily podcast that I get to edit, and I sometimes get to host depending on the typical host schedules, as well as I get to find pretty much all of the interviews that will be aired for the daily podcast, depending on what's going on in the ag industry and what's important at the time.
And last summer, you worked at a radio station and also had your own little morning show. Am I right?
That is correct. So over the summer last year, I got to work for WHO Radio based out of Des Moines, and I specifically worked for The Big Show. It's a 2-hour ag talk show, once again, ag girly in case you haven't figured that out. But I had some amazing bosses there, and over the summer, they taught me a lot about the basics and kind of really helped build me up to where I am today. So then over winter break this year, I had the very amazing and uncommon opportunity to get to host the show many times. So I got to pick out guests, ask them to join live, where they actually wouldn't come to the radio, but they would call in and we would just talk over the phone for typically 7-8 minutes, depending on the time. And very hard for me, I had to learn about the markets. That was a challenger for sure. But once I got that down, I made some great connections with people super knowledgeable about all of those ag commodity markets and definitely learned a lot. So yeah, ag communications is a strong passion of mine.
And I'm really happy to hear that. And when I saw the election results, that you were elected, and amongst other reasons, but one of the small ones was because you were in cows. And so the office of the vice president has been in the cows college for the past 3 years with you, myself, and then my predecessor, Megan Decker. And so the cows tradition is live and well. And I also want to address our listeners that the State of Things podcast is in good hands with our well-experienced and new co-host, Jennifer Holliday. But you've worked in the podcast, or you're working in the podcast realm. You've worked in the radio realm. What do you think, as a new co-host of the State of Things, what are you going to bring to this podcast?
Oh my goodness. That is a fantastic question. I have definitely been looking forward to kind of taking things on with this podcast a bit, since it isn't ag-based and is a little bit more new topic-wise to learn about. So I'm excited to find those unique listeners and interviewers to come and join for each episode. But other than that, I'm not for sure. But I'm definitely looking forward to bringing some spice with Emily for the podcast for all of our listeners.
I mean, with Jacob and I being the inaugural season, there is a lot of malleability to this podcast that, we are very excited to see you and Emily take this wherever you want. We've seen a ton of growth, but we only know that you guys are going to make it grow even more. So we're very excited to listen in every other week when you guys release episodes.
So, on the record then, you are going to continue listening once you are graduated and living in Des Moines, working your big boy job now.
So Jacob and I for the record as well, are going to be here in 2 weeks now, proud alumni of Iowa State University. And so we're not leaving this community anytime soon. I will still get the Spotify notifications every time there's an episode released. So don't worry, I will be listening to every one of them.
Okay, good. We will make sure we live up to your expectations.
So I guess the final thing I want to talk to you about is, you've got the State of Things podcast now. You obviously have the 12 platform points and a myriad of other random things that'll happen to you throughout the year. But what are you most excited about? Not everyone gets to be vice president of the student body, but you are one of those people. And so what are you looking to get out of this year?
I am definitely most excited for all of the connections that I'm going to get to build with the students and the faculty and administration. Something that I have always been passionate about is working towards improving and improvements for the future, whether that was when I first joined student council when I was in high school or my long drawn out FFA journey. I always found ways to bring new ideas and things to the table that would benefit everybody in the end. So that's something that I'm most definitely looking forward to because I'm very open-minded. I want to hear all sides of the perspective, and I want students to come to me and say, like, hey, this is what I'm experiencing. What can you do about it? I am ready to take that on, and I'm honestly most excited for that.
That sounds amazing. I know the connection building between faculty and administrators, the students, and just third-party members of the university community as well. Making those connections and really bringing that student voice was also something that I took away from the year, and so I'm very excited for you to have that opportunity. But to all of our listeners, there you have it, our 73rd Vice President of the Student Body and your brand new co-host of The State of Things, Jennifer Holliday. Jennifer, thank you so much for this interview.
Well, thank you for letting me join on for this last episode.
Thank you.
All right, State of Things listeners, with me today is my successor, Emily Roberts, your 70th president of the student body. Emily, how are you?
I'm feeling pretty good. Realize that introduction isn't quite as cool as yours, but I can live with that, I guess, for the next year.
There's nothing wrong with following up a class act, okay? But no, in all seriousness, really excited to, obviously be handing the presidency off to you. I think you're going to do a fantastic job, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But obviously handing this podcast off, which is the thing that our listeners care about. We've just been inundated with emails, calls, texts, and everything about what's going to happen to the State of Things once we're gone. And I'm happy to report that you and Jen are going to take over, and you're going to do a fantastic job. But obviously, State of Things is just one facet, although the most important facet of being student body president. But with this year coming, and you're actually already in your term, things are already happening, you're already busy.
Yeah, it's week 2,
Yeah.
and there are tons of emails in my inbox.
Happy to, I hope I didn't leave too many problems for you. But I hope you're enjoying the problems that you have. I feel like being a student body president is just having like your weekly menu of issues that you need to deal with, and deciding which ones need to be handled now and which ones can be handed off to the following week. But with your year starting, you got a lot of projects and initiatives that you're pursuing. What are you most excited about?
I'm just excited to continue being part of the organization. I think I've been a chief officer, I've been a senator. It's kind of nice to maybe kind of be in the driver's seat finally. I've gotten to see a couple different presidents. I obviously got to see the 69th student body president. So I'm kind of excited to put my own spin on it and really hopefully make Iowa State even better than it is now.
Good. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I assume that I'm your favorite president, excluding yourself, of course.
You are my favorite president, Jacob. Don't worry.
But there's so much that does happen in student government. I think it is such a fantastic place. One of the things I feel like I remark on very consistently is just the people in the organization. I've really sunk my teeth into this organization. So at times, maybe my perspective is a little warped. But based on my limited interaction with other student organizations and clubs and whatnot, this is just such a special place. There's so many super passionate people here with unique backgrounds and so much energy. I mean, honestly, day in, day out, I walk into the office and I'm just like, man, how did they elect me president? Because I feel outclassed by everyone in student government in all these different areas. And obviously, everyone has their own unique set of talents and skills. But yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. Continuing to be a part of this organization is one of the reasons I kept running for things over my years. And so for me, it's a little bittersweet leaving after close to 5 years as a member. But I know it's being left in good hands. You ran on a platform, about serving each student, and I know that each stands for an acronym, and so I'm going to give you an opportunity right now to do a little platform speech right here on the State of Things podcast. So do you want to talk a little bit about some of the big things that you're going to be pursuing over the next year?
Yeah, so each is an acronym. It stands for Empowerment, Academics, Community, and Health. So a lot of the big things we're focusing on is the implementation of a safe word program here in Ames. Obviously, our students are only on campus for a small part of their day and then choose to maybe head over to Welch. So I want to ensure that they're safe when they're coming back to Welch because it greatly impacts, if anything happens over there, their success in the classroom and their happiness here at Iowa State. Another one is the Campus Accessibility Map. My Vice President, Jennifer Holliday, she is super excited about that one. Just the idea that students should know how they're going to be able to access a building. And if not, red flags show up to us if we know a building's not accessible to students. And then definitely a big one working with the Board of Regents is the advocation for an implementation of a fall break here at Iowa State. Obviously, I always think the semester's super long, but the fall semester seems really long, especially in that month of October. So really advocating for that 3-day weekend so that students have that opportunity to reset right after midterms to hopefully finish out strong that semester before then we hit winter break and come back and do it all again in the spring.
Yeah. It's really interesting to me how important those breaks are, just for a little rest and recharge. I remember during the spring semester when we came back for the 2021 school year, and we didn't have spring break that year. And I remember how much more grueling that spring semester was, even though it was, I think, technically a week or two shorter than a regular semester. Without that spring break, it felt like it went on forever. I was so beat at the end of it. It did not go well academically for me either. And so, yeah, it just was such an intense semester. And I was like, honestly, if I just had a couple days. And so I think you're right. Just like even that little bit of an extra break. I know that like midterm season in the fall hits so much harder in the spring. I don't know what it is, but that third and fourth week of October is just a nightmare.
Well, and I think you just got to remember how busy students are in the fall semester. There's still stuff going on in the spring, but with football season and everything in the fall, your weekends aren't that restful anyways.
Right.
So even just a single day for students to nap makes all the difference.
But you got football going on. Basketball usually starts up towards the end of November, and then usually end of October, beginning of November is homecoming. So it's not an ideal time. No. And so I think that'll be a fantastic thing for us to have some conversations with the Board of Regents about. Another thing that I want to talk about. You admitted it earlier that I am your favorite student body president.
You're my favorite student body president.
And I just obviously I think you're following in my footsteps a little bit. I was chief of staff, then I was president. You were chief of staff. Now you're going to be president. I want to talk about another thing. Jaden and I, we innovated a little bit here at Iowa State by living together this last year. We became roommates. And I understand that you and Jen are also going to be roommates next year. So I want to step away from student government for a moment. And why don't you tell me what you're most excited about when it comes to in terms of, living with Jennifer for the next year?
Yeah, so definitely accidentally copied you on that one again. I think first and foremost, I'm just excited to have an apartment. I lived in a sorority house for 3 years now. Very excited to live in an apartment and not have 50 roommates. I think that could be really exciting, just having one. Living with Jennifer, especially, I don't know, she puts me in a really good mood. Jennifer's just a really happy person, so I'm kind of excited to get to wake up to that every day. I think kind of resembles your and Jaden's relationship in the fact that I think Jaden's more of the sunshine. You might be a dark cloud over there, Jacob, some days. So I'm excited to have my sunshine as well living with me.
Yeah. I just hope that you and Jennifer see each other a little bit more.
Yeah, I do hope to know where she is at moments. And, I was thinking that if we were going the same place, we might even drive together.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. No, that isn't what me and Jaden do. Despite living together this year, and we do see each other quite a bit, but it's honestly mostly on campus. When Jaden and I were talking about getting an apartment together, I was like, Jaden, the best part of living with me, and I'm trying to pitch myself to him at this moment because like anyone thinking about living with me is obviously hesitant, so I had to like kind of
Obviously.
convince him, right? So I was like, here's the thing. Here's what makes me such a great roommate. You will feel like you're living alone, and that's just because I am absent. There are a lot of days where like Jaden, like I will leave before Jaden or Jaden leaves before me, and then I very often don't get home till very late at night, and so Jaden will already be in bed, and so like we're both there at the same time a lot. It's just usually we're sleeping, or one of us is sleeping and kind of doing something else. So there would be like days in a row where I just didn't see Jaden. I'm at home, but I would see him like on campus at meetings.
I mean, that's incredible. The other thing I'm really excited about is, I got some great advice for making pizza rolls in an air fryer, and I'm really excited to, try that out next year, I think, as well.
Yeah, who do you get that advice from?
I did hear the 69th student body president does know how to make pizza rolls in an air fryer.
Yeah, I think that tracks. I think he'd probably be a guy who really knows and has a lot of experience with making pizza rolls in a high quality fashion. So I'm glad he passed that along to you.
Yeah, it's important information. It was actually part of my transition report.
Yeah. Well, obviously being student body president is a huge responsibility. You've got a big platform ahead of you, a lot of items to make sure that you get done before the end of the year, and then there's always the obligatory mid-year challenges that you didn't get to chart out, wasn't a part of your platform, things that come up that you kind of have to deal with. And then there's all the little weekly things that will just come up as being part of president, or as a part of being the president. But there's a lot of really cool things that you get to do as president as well. Just fun little things that you get to be involved in. Great little conversations. I had a lot of fortunate experiences this year. Got to be a part of the kickoff celebration for the start of the centennial celebration for Jack Trice's death. I thought it was very cool to be at the ceremony where they unveiled the new statue. They named Jack Trice Lane. And then, so obviously there's been a lot of big stuff happening with that this year. Obviously, Big 12 conference is always a really fun part where, maybe it's a little bit more internally focused and, you're trying to kind of get some direction and advice from other student governments, but it's really cool to interact with leaders, student leaders from across the country. And then obviously Big 12 on the Hill is just fun. It's fun to go out to DC. You have really awesome conversations. It's really cool just how interested members of Congress actually are in what's going on our campuses and what the student perspective is. So those were some of my favorite experiences, on top of just the different projects that we got to finish this year. So what are some things that you're looking forward to?
I'm definitely looking forward to the Big 12 conference again. I got to go last year. This year it's at TCU, so
Back in Texas.
I do love Texas, so I'm very excited to spend a weekend there, especially since it'll be about mid-October when it starts to get a little chilly here.
Yeah.
So I'll go where it's warm again. I'm excited for the football game in the President's Box. I have never missed an Iowa State football game since attending here. So kind of excited to see it from a box perspective. Usually I'm fighting for that front row seat, so it'll be nice to kind of have to fight for a seat this time around.
It's a very different experience inside the box. I feel like in the game, like when you're just like in general seating, like you're very much focused on the game and you're paying attention. I felt like when Jaden and I were in there, like no one was watching the game, and it was such a weird thing. Like I would forget there was a football game happening, and so like occasionally I'd look up and be like, what's the score? And I'd be like, I'm at a football game right now. Why am I not watching? But like people just want to talk in there. It's definitely a different experience.
I'm going to miss having all the students around me with their colorful language, when calls aren't going our way, Big 12 refs are being who they are.
Yeah, I will say maybe a little bit less violence in President Winterstein's private box.
I could see that. She doesn't really strike me as a violent person.
Yeah, not a lot of cursing or threats, against anyone.
Yeah, I'm also excited for the Jack Trice Memorial Game this year. I got to be on the planning committee, so it'll be kind of nice October 7th to actually see the game, see everything come to life that we've been working on the committee.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I know I don't mean to cut you off, but I know the last thing you were going to mention is obviously becoming a host of the State of Things.
Obviously, yes, and then becoming host of the State of Things. That is like the big dream.
Right, and so I just want to impart some advice. As an exiting host here. The State of Things podcast can be whatever you want it to be. Jaden and I obviously did it in our own unique way. I was Mr. Cyride for the whole time. I feel like I've found a lot of random opportunities to sneak Cyride in.
Isn't that what you do in general?
Maybe. I can neither confirm nor deny what I tend to do and how often I mention SciRad on a daily basis, but it's maybe north of 5 mentions a day.
Oh, definitely.
But anyways, I think that it's a really fun environment here. Obviously, we kind of set up I felt like this last year, Jaden and I kept taking ideas to the State of Things hosts or the production team, and we kept being like, "Hey, here's a new idea," and then we would get an eye roll, and a sigh, and maybe a little bit of an argument, and then we'd be like, "Can we do it anyways?" So a lot of trial and error, maybe a little bit more error than trial, but I think now that we're here at the end of the semester or end of the year, we've got it on something of a good groove. So I hope that you find a lot of fun in the next year, and I think my big piece of advice is just have a good time in here. It's really fun. We were gonna release a blooper reel, but I've been informed that there's just too much content.
Oh, it couldn't make up their minds.
Yeah, but have fun in here. I think that this is probably one of the more interesting and effective ways that we've tried to reach out to students in terms of a consistent platform by which we promote what's going on in student government and talk about big things that are happening on campus. We had this kind of wishy-washy fireside chat thing for 3 or 4 years where I think it was really well-intentioned and I think it worked in some ways, but we did Hot Ones 3 years in a row. And I don't know, Hot Ones is a challenge from 2015 in my mind. So the idea of anyone doing it today in the year of our Lord 2023 just seems a little much. So yeah, I think
You're awfully judgmental for a person who sends me 200 TikToks.
yeah, but they're current TikToks, they're
Just wanted to throw it out
fresh.
there. Just
Yeah.
wanted to throw it out there.
Listen, we don't need to talk about. I recently looked at my screen time app and saw how much time I spend on TikTok in a week, and I would sooner. I don't know. I would suffer some great indignity rather than ever say that number publicly.
You know what? Maybe TikTok getting banned could be good for you.
Yeah, I mean, it'd definitely be great for my screen health. The mental health in terms of not being on my phone 24/7. But anyways, back to the state of things. But yeah, I think it's a really, really cool platform. And so I hope it goes well for you the next year. What are you most excited for, state of things wise?
I'm not gonna lie, the next year's gonna be very reliant. Luckily, Jennifer is very much a journalism and mass communication major. This is all in her wheelhouse. I mean, she does podcast editing for her job.
Right.
So it's 100% her show. I will just show up and do what she says. I'm excited though to talk to leaders on campus and various administration, just kind of in a more informal setting. Throw them somewhere where they're also really uncomfortable.
Yeah. So I'm gonna put you on the spot right here, right quick. Who's your dream guest?
Matt Campbell in a heartbeat. I have so many questions about our coaching styles and stuff. I need to ask them.
Okay. All right. Well, I look forward to you, twisting Matt Campbell's arm and getting him on the podcast. I hope you're able to pull that off.
If I pull that off, we've accomplished every goal I could have possibly ever had in life.
You've succeeded as student body president.
Yes.
You'll resign the next day.
Exactly. All I need to do is talk to Matt Campbell one-on-one.
Perfect. Well, I do want to take a little bit of a moment just to say, jokes aside, I know I made a lot of jokes in this interview. It wasn't really so much an interview as a conversation, I suppose. But I am really excited for Emily to take over as student body president and host of the State of Things. But I think Emily is going to be a fantastic president. She is already dealing with some unique challenges in these first couple of weeks. And I have no doubt that all of the things that she promised to do will get done, and that this campus will be a better place for her having served over the course of this next year. So I just want to say good luck. Not that you need it, and I don't think you do. I think you're going to do a great job, and good luck with the state of things. I feel like you mentioned earlier, you and Jennifer have different personalities. Me and Jaden have very different personalities as well. The podcast, I think, was originally my idea, but I think Jaden was definitely a lot more the podcast guy. He has that energy that I feel like I'm a lot more laid back. And so I hope that you have fun with the podcast over the next year, you and Jennifer. It's a great bonding opportunity. And with that, I think we will head straight into the outro with you and Jennifer.
Oh my gosh. Welcome to season 2 of The State of Things. My name's Emily Roberts, and I am your student body president this year.
And I am Jennifer Holliday, your new student body vice president.
Jennifer, does that still feel weird to say? Because I feel very weird when I say it.
Student body vice president. No, it definitely still sounds weird to say. No, it feels absolutely unreal. We have had some official meetings, official lunches with important people. We've gone through our first 2 Senate meetings. And let me tell you, sometimes I forget. And then I wake up in the morning and I'm like, whoa, this is real. Like I stare at my ceiling and I'm like, we are ready for the next year ahead of us.
What are you kind of most looking forward to? I got an email from Bacon Expo asking us to be vendors, so we're going to make a bacon dish. I already signed us up. It's too late.
Oh my goodness.
But what's something like you're really looking forward to?
Well, that's
The
a
Bacon
shocker.
Expo.
Yeah. Earlier I was telling Jaden about how I'm excited to connect with students, which is truly what I am most excited for. But looking kind of internally, I'm kind of excited to connect more with everybody in student government. Over this past semester, I have dove more into being in the Senate office more consistently and just having those more day-to-day conversations with everybody in student government, which is sad because I've connected with a lot of seniors and they're getting ready to leave, but looking forward to definitely meeting all of the new senators and getting to know their personalities.
Yeah, we don't need to keep talking about the seniors leaving. Director of Health and Wellness, Charlotte Everest, my best friend. She's leaving the country, so I really don't like to think about that. But I definitely love the Senate office. We were in there earlier today. We were having discussions about Disney characters. So really a great day. Tons of laughs. Not much productivity, though.
No.
But, maybe moving forward we'll kind of go. But so we finished first session, which was only 2 weeks, so not that long. But what was your favorite thing so far? I think mine was ISU Rodeo, getting to ride in the truck around when they dropped the barrels. But
That was a lot of fun. I would have to say that my favorite thing that has happened so far is definitely getting to go into the Knoll for the first time ever. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but I feel like when you walk into the Knoll, you need to go in there with no expectations because you don't know what you are about to see. And it was definitely a very intricate place to go visit. Mr. Wagner, President Winterstein's husband, showed us the past presidents and their partners of Iowa State University. Lots of history, lots of artwork. It was very interesting.
after he kept talking about how previous presidents had found people on living floors, I had this like really weird feeling that I just wanted to wander to living floors, but I didn't. I kept that to myself. But he kept talking about it, and I was like, what does it look like up there? Like, is it an apartment vibe? Does it just look like another house stacked on top of a house? Like, I'm very curious at this point.
I actually had a dream about that later that night. That not exactly what happened, but I had a dream that, and I know this was because of the story that Mr. Wagner was saying, that someone wandered into my apartment, and I woke up in the morning and went out and found them sitting on the couch. And now I don't, like, I've been thinking about that a lot lately.
You know, Jennifer, I do hate to break this to you. I feel like if random people were going to wander into other people's homes,
Would not be me.
I wouldn't think it'd be yours. I could be dead wrong. There could be really something great about your apartment that I don't know about. But I feel like there would be other places they would wander first.
Please don't wander into my apartment. My bedroom has no windows in it.
Is that even a bedroom?
You know, actually, Jacob told me with his real estate knowledge that it's technically a closet.
That's what I felt all bedrooms had to have windows.
Yeah, so I'm living in a closet.
I live in a sorority house and I have a window. It does look at the house of Phi Gamma Delta though, so quite a view in the mornings.
Yeah. And speaking of living, guess listeners what Emily and I are getting to carry the tradition on of this upcoming year.
Oh, Jacob and I did talk about this a little. Jennifer and I are going to be living together exactly 500 feet from where I live now. So, you know, if I keep trying to walk home, I just got to stop a little earlier, so it'll be okay. But what are you kind of most excited about to living together? It is just us in our apartment at least, so there's not random people.
I'm excited that you are never getting rid of me.
It's okay.
you
I've
are
decided
going
I
to-
will lock the exec office and like figure out how to like barricade it if I can't get away from you.
We will have multiple copies of the key. So
I will change the key. I will move the exec office.
if it helps at all, I do believe our bedrooms lock from the inside.
Oh, thank gosh.
But yeah, so you are going to get my 11 p.m. guitar songs from my bedroom. I do play the guitar. Did you know that?
I did not know that actually.
You actually didn't?
No, I don't think I did.
Oh, I play like 7 instruments.
Oh, I can play the piano.
Oh my goodness.
So that's it.
Sometimes I forget the instruments I play. Piano, guitar, bass guitar, percussion. I love percussion. The marimba, chef's kiss instrument. I used to sing. You don't want to hear me sing anymore. I'm out of practice. Ukulele. I used to play the dulcimer, which is a very interesting. It's a 4-string instrument, and 3 of the strings are the same like note, but in different octaves. And then 1 string is, I think it's a perfect 4th above the rest of the strings.
So I can play the piano, and that was because my mom made me go to 7 years of lessons. Like, I would cry on my way because I didn't want to go anymore, but my mom said it wasn't optional. So that's why I know how to play the piano.
And guess what? Music helps the brain. So that's why you are succeeding as an engineer.
I would not use the word succeeding. I would use surviving, but I appreciate it.
We're on the tail end of the semester, honey. We're almost there.
I only have 2 finals this year, though, so I'm kind of excited. I've never had this few finals.
See, all my finals are projects. Yeah. But actually, Jaden told me we don't care about being students here. We are student government representatives.
Oh,
so
right. Jacob did go to class today, and I was like amazed because I was like, oh, I didn't go to class, so we just switched roles. And I was like, an intriguing thought.
yeah. So Emily, tell me a fun fact about your experience in student government.
Oof. It's been a lot of experiences in student government. Not that I don't love them all. So I think one of the most intriguing how roundabout the student connected to the government part. I was director of academic affairs a year ago, and I served on the academic standards and admissions committee. It's actually been my favorite committee I've ever served on. But the head of the committee is Dr. Terry Boylston. She's in the food chemistry department. And then last semester, she was my professor. So she had already known me. So it was so nice because it broke down how awkward going to office hours can be at first because I already knew who she was. We had already had arguments, so we were on great terms.
Oh, okay.
Actually, she's super student-oriented, so we love her.
Yes, true queen.
What about you? What's your favorite part of Student Gov so far? I know this is your first year.
Oh, my favorite part? I was ready for a fun fact because I have a good fun fact to share with our listeners.
What's your fun fact?
Okay, thank you for changing the question.
Of course.
So my fun fact, listeners, about student government is that my academic advisor used to be the student body vice president as well. And on top of that, Emily has a professor in the chemical engineering department.
Shout out Dr. Rowling.
That used to be the student body president at the same time as my academic advisor. So they were president and vice president together.
That was a really weird email when I found that out because your advisor and you had a conversation.
Yes.
My professor sent me an email with the subject StuGov ? It was a really weird moment for me.
Very ominous.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, cool. Yeah. I was like, I couldn't believe he remembered because I had him the semester before, and at the very beginning of the semester, he sends out this form for you to fill out, just kind of what you do on campus, so he can learn a little bit more about you. So I couldn't believe after 8 months, he still remembered that I was in student government. So shout out to the professors who do listen to their students because it actually does mean a lot. I was really excited that he remembered.
Yes, absolutely. Those professors and advisors that are willing to make those personal connections make all the difference for our experiences.
As we get ready to wrap up this podcast, and honestly, the first session here, what are we kind of thinking the goals of the year are? What are we focused on?
The goals of the year? Well, we gave our voters, the students, our checkpoints. So we are ready to tackle those 12 goals and many more on top of them as well.
Mine was graduating, but, also focusing on the platform. I agreed. That was also very important. But my main goal, I would really like to graduate next May, just a thought.
I would be okay keeping you here another year.
I do not feel like I could do another year. More importantly, I do not think my father, Chad Roberts, would be okay with that. He is very ready for me to leave his health insurance. That's really what he cares about, the health insurance.
You would really save me the stress of finding another roommate if you were to just
I'm sorry.
live.
You're going to have to... Yeah, maybe you can live on your own. New thought process.
No.
Oh, she's not a lone liver. We got it.
No, I need that person to bounce my ideas off of. I need someone to ominously listen to me sing Beatles music from my bedroom at 12 in the morning.
Oh, I do hope you know I listen to VeggieTales every night before I go to bed, so you will have to listen to those.
Okay, we get to just enjoy each other's new music tastes, I guess.
And then I do listen to Rattling Bog every morning as I drink my cup of coffee. So you're also going to have to listen to that.
Actually, I just want you to know that I sang the entire song for my mom and younger sister one day, and they were incredibly impressed but concerned as to why I knew it, and it was all your fault.
I am their top listener for the year of 2022. So thank you.
And that is Emily's most proud accomplishment of
It
her
really
life.
is. I haven't done much else besides that. So hopefully we'll achieve something this year that I can replace that fun fact with.
Yeah. Well, listeners, I hope you like what you see because we have a lot coming for you over this next year.
And with that, I think this has been
The State of Things.
Thank you for listening to another great episode of The State of Things, an ISU Student Government podcast original. This episode was hosted by Jacob Ludwig and Jaden Ahlrichs, produced by Madeline Willits, our executive producer, Sundar Shivraj, our production manager, and Ethan Matthews, our technical director, with special thanks to the staff and facilities of the Student Innovation Center Digital Media Suite. We are always looking to promote student organizations and campus events. So if you have an organization or event that you would like us to promote, please email us at stateofthings@iastate.edu.
The Iowa State University Student Government was created in 1958 to provide service to, advocacy for, and empowerment of students at Iowa State. To get involved or share your ideas for change, please email stugov@iastate.edu. That's stugov@iastate.edu. Thank you, and roll clones.